Super Mario Maker 2, as the name obviously implies, is meant to be a level designer tool for you to create your very own Mario stages. Several items from over the history of the Mario series has made an appearance as usable items in the game's course creator. However, not every item has been featured in the mainline Mario series before being seen as an item in either Super Mario Maker or Super Mario Maker 2. These range from anything from enemies, gizmos, and of course, power-ups. So today, I want to take a look at some of these Mario Maker original items and discuss what they do, how useful they are, and how happy I am they made it into the game over some items we've actually seen before. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We've got about 20 items to cover today, so let's just jump straight to the list. Easily the largest group of original items come in the form of power-ups, which on the one hand is great as it opens up a ton of new ways to play, but on the other hand we still don't have the ice flower in the game, so these better be worthwhile additions. First, we're starting off with one that, spoiler alert, is pretty good. The Master Sword hails from the Legend of Zelda series and will transform Mario into Link, taking his look from the NES Legend of Zelda. The main thing that makes a Master Sword power-up so interesting though is Link's massive selection of tools. First off, he of course gets the Master Sword itself, which can be used to kill enemies or activate blocks. You could do just a simple swipe, a ground pound, or even a fast charge forward. The next tool is his shield, which is obviously able to defend against certain attacks. This is activated by pressing down, and any enemy that walks into this will be pushed aside. Next up is the bow. This will shoot out arrows to defeat enemies and activate certain switches. It's able to hit on-off blocks, but not question mark blocks, which has always annoyed me, but whatever, this is still pretty good. Finally, the last tool Link has is his bombs, which are able to break anything like a bomb can. So yeah, this is a pretty diverse power-up. For all of its different mechanics alone, this is a fantastic addition to the Mario Maker roster of power-ups, however that's also partially its downfall. See, while I like levels focused around using Link, you can't really just throw this item into any level type. Take a Fire Flower for example, it's so simple that it works in nearly any level type. With the Master Sword though, you really have to carefully design your level around it, which can be a downside for some. Overall though, this is fantastic. So many new level opportunities were created because of this thing, and that's definitely worth praising. Clearly a lot of time and energy went into making this power-up work, and while it may not really be a Mario item, I think it fits right at home here with everything else. Hey, so if the item is from The Legend of Zelda, then technically it isn't Mario Maker original. Wow, Odyssey, I can't believe you would lie to your audience. Alright, that was a bit of a long one. Why don't we take a small break from the power-ups and look at an enemy, or more specifically, an alternate form of an enemy. The Goomba is the most iconic enemy in the Mario series, besides Bowser of course. These guys are incredibly simple, just walking back and forth and hoping they just so happen to run into Mario to damage him. If Mario jumps on them though, then they'll be defeated. Thing is about the Goombas though, is that they're so simple that they don't even pay attention to the ground they're walking on, so they'll often walk straight off of it into their own death. Luckily, Mario Maker 2 finally gave us an option to stop their horrible demise by making them Goombrats, who act the exact same but will actually turn around when they hit a ledge. Now I'm sure a lot of you are screaming at me that the Goombrats are not Mario Maker original, and you'd be correct, as they do appear in previous titles. So why am I talking about them? Well, that's because of how the Goombrats appear in the Super Mario World style. See, Goombas went extinct in Super Mario World and instead were replaced by the Galoombas, which act the exact same except once hit, they can be picked up and thrown. Their alternate form though, instead of the Goombrat, is the actual original item for this segment, the Goombud. His behavior is a mix of the Galoomba and Goombrats, not being able to walk off ledges but also being able to be picked up. Obviously this guy was created to have a form of the Goombrat for Super Mario World if you were to switch to it from another style, but I'm really happy that they still kept the ability to pick them up. Like I said, this guy is much simpler, but a good addition regardless to let creators control the obstacles of their levels more. The Big Mushroom acts as the main exclusive power-up for the original Super Mario Bros. Style. See, all four of the main styles got an exclusive power-up since they each have a different power-up selection. Super Mario Bros. 3 had the Tanuki Leaf, Mario World had the Cape Feather, and Mario U had the Propeller Suit. The problem with coming up with an exclusive power-up for the Super Mario Bros. Style though, is the fact that its selection to choose from is tiny. So that's where the Big Mushroom comes in to save the day. And no, this is not the Mega Mushroom, they are completely different power-ups. Upon collecting this, Mario will grow to be 2 tiles tall and 2 tiles wide, though his sprite will be the same as Small Mario. The colors have been adjusted to fit Mario's modern look. Like other power-ups, this will let Mario take a few extra hits before death, and he'll be able to break blocks like bricks and even stuff like hard blocks by landing on top of them from a jump. Yeah, there's really not much to work with here. The ability changes managed to not only be so minor that there aren't many uses for this guy, but the abilities also managed to be hard to work with as well. The best use I've ever been able to get out of this guy is hiding a secret behind some bricks on the floor as a reward for maybe getting through a portion of the level without taking damage. But yeah, this is pretty lame. The next item I want to talk about here is the Swinging Claw. This will grab anything it goes near, including Mario, enemies, items, and whatever else. They'll drop their item if Mario comes nearby, or if Mario is inside the claw, he can just jump out of it to get out. The claw can also be attached to tracks, making it a good way to carry items to a different location. This is a pretty helpful item as it has uses as both just a standard obstacle that Mario has to go through to complete a platforming challenge, or it can be used in some more complex machines. While I do certainly like this item, I do have a few criticisms for it. For one, the dropping mechanic can be a bit finicky. It's a bit hard to tell how close you have to be for it to drop the item. Secondly, this would have been a really cool one to have an adjustable length. Many gizmos like bill blasters, lifts, and so on allow the creator to change their lengths and heights, so maybe having the option to choose how long the claw's chain is would have been neat. The longer the chain could allow for larger swings, which would have been fun to mess around with. Other than that, this is certainly a pretty good item. If you thought the Goomba was a very specific item, then you haven't seen anything yet, as our next item is the Rotten Mushroom. No, not the Poison Mushroom, the Rotten Mushroom, totally different things. If you bring a 1-up into the nighttime ground theme, it will become the Rotten Mushroom, which will damage the player as opposed to giving them an extra life. Not only that, but the mushroom will follow Mario instead of just moving randomly. It's even able to jump up a little bit. That's the main thing that separates this from the Poison Mushroom, the fact that it doesn't just move like a normal mushroom would. For that reason alone, I find this to be a much better addition than the Poison Mushroom ever could be. While this isn't great for traditional levels, there are pretty fun concepts to be made with this thing, like a level where you have to try and avoid it as it follows you. Really, the only thing I don't like about this thing is the fact that it's stuck to be in only the nighttime ground theme. I mean, yes, you could technically bring it over to the other themes using Yoshi, but that's not really super practical. But overall, a pretty solid addition. Next up, let's do a little 2-for-1 segment and talking about vehicles. There aren't many of them in the game, but of the ones we do have, 2 of them are completely new to Mario Maker. First off, the Fire Clown Car acts as an alternate form of the regular clown car. That just lets Mario fly around. You're also able to put enemies and some items inside of it to let them fly around as well. The Fire Clown Car is different as it lets you shoot out fireballs, which will damage enemies and even be able to break certain blocks if charged for long enough. One other neat little detail is that if Mario has a fire flower, it'll shoot out 3 fireballs at a time instead of just 1. This opened up a ton of extra level types, primarily shooter levels, where you have to fly around in the air while attacking enemies that either have wings or are just also in clown cars. Definitely a really good addition. The other vehicle, though, is not so lucky. The Koopa Troopa Car does not let you put other things inside of it, and it always spawns with the Koopa. If Mario is able to defeat it, he can steal the car and drive slightly faster than he can run. Oh, but wait, there's more. If you try and turn around, it'll be the slowest and most painful thing you've ever experienced, as the car will come to a complete stop. Yeah, safe to say, I don't like this item. This really doesn't allow for any unique level types like the Fire Clown Car, unless being able to go over spikes is something you really wanted to make a level about. The turning makes the car not even worth getting most of the time for me. Any levels using it just feel like auto levels because they basically have to put springs everywhere to make sure you turn around so you don't lose every ounce of speed. I'm not even sure what they could do to improve this. I honestly just wish this was something else, especially considering there was absolutely no reason for them to add this into 3D World since it's its own extra game style. Well, speaking of that, the extra game style did at least lead to a pretty good item being created, so let's jump to that. The Super Hammer acts as the reward for completing the game's story mode. This turns Mario into Builder Mario, the face of the Mario Maker series, and much like Link, he gains a ton of extra abilities. First off, he has a hammer which can be used to break blocks in your enemy's skulls. Secondly, he can also summon up to 5 crates which can be used to climb up tall cliffs or even cross gaps of lava. I really do like the concept behind this power-up, a bit weird to give it to 3D World, a game with so many power-ups to choose from, but I still think it's good. The crates were also a creative way to reference Builder Mario, well, building things. This does suffer from a similar problem as Link though. The power-up's abilities are far too specific. It's absolutely perfect for levels to be built around it, but it can't really be used in many settings like the more basic power-ups. Heck, I'd say this problem affects the Super Hammer worse, as the crates are a super easy way to cheese levels. Regardless though, this was a good addition and it makes sense to have Builder Mario actually be in the game. The Mecha Koopas are one of the rare items to not only get 1 alternate form, but 2. Now obviously the default Mecha Koopas have been in the series ever since Super Mario World. They'll hunt Mario down but get stunned if jumped on, which then makes them able to be picked up and thrown. Which then makes them be able to be picked up and thrown. The 2 alternate forms of the Mecha Koopa though give the guy an extra attack each. First off, the Blasted Mecha Koopa will give this guy a heat-seeking missile that will explode like a bomb after a while. The Zappa Mecha Koopa will be able to shoot out a large bolt of lightning towards Mario that can even destroy blocks if made big. Both of these are pretty unique obstacles from anything else we have in Mario Maker. I mean, sure, the Blasted Mecha Koopa's bullets are sort of like bullseye bills, but since they explode, we're also able to use them to break objects for either a puzzle or to make something more difficult. The lightning though is pretty much entirely unique, leading to a nice damaging hitbox to block off a certain elevation in your levels. These are not earth-shattering additions, but they make for some nice small additions in levels to act as obstacles. They're quite versatile, which makes them work in more level types than most of what we talked about so far, just like the claw. Okay, our last major power-up is the SMB2 Mushroom. Now this is technically in Super Mario Bros. 2, but they act entirely different, so I consider this to be a Mario Maker original. This is exclusive to the Super Mario Bros. Style once again, and upon collecting it, he'll take on his look from Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. This isn't just aesthetic though, as mechanically it also changes to fit how he worked in that game. Now you are no longer able to jump on enemies to defeat them. Instead, you have to stand on top of them and pick them up. Additionally, you'll be able to destroy cloud blocks by picking them up, and you'll get an extra large jump if you hold crouch for a few seconds. In the snow theme, this power-up will also let you pick up snow from the ground and make snowballs. Obviously, a lot of work went into making this act just like Super Mario Bros. 2 USA, and I think that's fantastic. It's perfect for building levels around it due to its many unique abilities, especially the way it interacts with enemies. While this does also suffer a bit from the too specific problem like a few other power-ups we've mentioned, I'd say it's much less of a problem in this case. Yeah, you definitely can't just throw this in anywhere, but I also don't think the entire level has to be built around it to work. All in all, the power-ups created for Super Mario Maker 2, for the most part, are pretty solid. I do still wish we got the Ice Flower, but these are acceptable. We do still got a few more pieces of equipment though, so let's take a look at some of those. The Goomba Shoe acts as the replacement for Yoshi in the Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 3 style. This just lets Mario take an extra hit and walk on deadly objects like spikes and munchers. Not lava though, Mario stop. Now this was in a few levels of Mario 3, where this becomes a Mario Maker original item is in its alternate form. When changed, the Goomba Shoe will become the Goomba Stiletto, a much fancier look. So what does it do differently from the Goomba Shoe? Well, when small, absolutely nothing. Alright, great start. The only time it changes is when you compare the big versions of the two. Here these both gain the ability to ground pound, which will help them slam into the ground and create a deadly shockwave. The Goomba Stiletto gets the extra ability though to break blocks, and even build blasters for some reason, which always looks very strange. So yeah, this is a super simple change, but I really like that. Having simple option changes like being able to or not being able to break blocks can be great for making sure your level is made just the way you want. It's like having a level with Link, but you don't have to worry about him having bombs if you don't want them. The Goomba Stiletto lets us still have the option to make the item super strong, but it also leaves room for the default Goomba Shoe to still exist. I think this perfectly displays how alternate forms of things can be used to give and take away abilities, and I hope they figure out a way to do that for some of the other power-ups we've mentioned. If we had more simple changes like the Stiletto for some of the more complicated items, then I think we'd be able to see them used more. Wow, okay, I spent way longer talking about the Goomba Stiletto than I thought I would. I genuinely don't think anyone has talked about this item for this long, ever. Let's just get to the next one. The Twister is an item that many players often forget about, though I would say for good reason. This will basically move around, turning around if it hits a wall or edge, while creating a strong gust of wind above its head. This is able to lift up anything that can be moved by gravity, whether it be enemies, Mario, or other items. Yeah, that's about it. Honestly, this item just has a ton of missed potential, and for being a Mario Maker original item, it really doesn't work well with much of anything. Sure, it can be used to move items upwards, but it's so much more of a hassle to use. You might as well just use moving platforms, because at least then you don't have to worry about getting the Twister to go exactly where you want. Oh, and only having it blow wind upwards is lame. Why can't we put it on the walls to blow horizontally or on ceilings to push players downward? I think this guy needs a lot of work done on him to make it actually useful, because as of right now, it's too hard to implement into levels or heck even build levels around. The final DLC update for Mario Maker, you guys can stop taking the final major update copium, it's been over 2 years, that was the last update. Several headpieces were added to 3D World. Most of them came from the game itself, the cannon box, the propeller box, and the Goomba mask. No, the Among Us mask did not make it to the game, sorry gamers. But 2 of the masks are entirely original to Mario Maker 2. Let's take a look at them and see if they were worth adding in over the light box and coin box, the 2 3D World headpieces not in Mario Maker 2. First off, we have the Bullet Bill mask, which allows Mario to fly horizontally for a short amount of time before it runs out of fuel. He'll lose the hat if he runs into a surface or takes damage. This can be good for flying obstacle courses, and this is especially helpful in 3D World as it doesn't have the Clown Car or Lakitu Cloud. The hitting wall limitation also makes this much more interesting. Overall, a really solid power-up to build a level around. The red POW box will activate a red POW block effect when you jump into a ceiling. This can be done 3 times and then Mario loses it. This is comparatively much more lame, as you could just use a red POW block. It's not really helpful for much of anything, plus it only being activated on ceilings is an annoying limitation. But how do these 2 items fare against the light box and coin box? Well, considering the coin box just gives you coins and the light box would be useless without any dark level themes, these 2 are both definitely better. The red POW box isn't something I'd call good, but at least it's kinda helpful. The one-way walls are a super simple item to understand. You can walk through one side of it, but it acts like a wall on the other side. Despite that simplicity, this is obviously one of the most important level making tools in the game. There are several times where you wouldn't want players to return to a previous section, maybe you don't want them possibly dying or accidentally forcing themselves to replay an entire segment of the level. Maybe you actually want the player to do the opposite and have your level loop back in on itself, but you don't want the player to just skip to the end. Maybe you want to prevent Mario from accessing a certain place that can, say, spawn in items or enemies. This simple yet unique use is so incredibly helpful in pretty much any level type and was an absolutely necessary addition to Mario Maker. I guess my only criticisms for the item are that it's kind of ugly and I wish it could be made only one tile big, but this is still a great and super useful item. For the rest of the video, we only have alternate forms of enemies. Starting off with the odd man out of the four, we have the heavy Firebro. This acts as a combination of the Firebro and Sledgebro. The Firebro shoots out fireballs similar to Mario with a fire flower. The Sledgebro is able to jump up into the air and ground pound, stunning anyone who's on the ground when he lands. Since the Sledgebro acts as the big version of the Hammer Bro, and since in 3D World the Firebro was added as an alternate, the heavy Firebro needed to be created to have something for when the Hammer Bro is made big and changed forms. Much like the Goomba Stiletto I talked about earlier, the sheer amount of different options there are for this one enemy is great. That way, it's super easy to find the perfect fit for your level. Sure, the heavy Firebro isn't super amazing by itself, but he can act as a good enemy in pretty much any level type. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he makes his way over to the mainline series eventually. Just seems like something that makes sense. But our final three items are quite possibly the most important we've talked about yet. The Shellmet, Spiny Shellmet, and Drybone Shell. Drybones for Smash. Let's go over their main uses first. These all act as equipable items and are alternate forms of the Buzzy Beetle, Spiny, and Drybones respectively. The Shellmet will protect Mario from any hits above him, even being able to move enemies he jumps into. The Spiny Shellmet is the same thing, though it's also able to damage enemies and break blocks. Another great example of subtle changes that I really like. Finally, the Drybone Shell lets you ride across dangerous surfaces like spikes and munchers. Not lava though. Oh, you're fine this time. It's also able to ground pound the floor and even let Mario enter into a state of invincibility for a short time, though just like Drybones, he can't move while it's active. All three of these abilities are great. None of them are too overpowered, which makes them great for all sorts of level types. But that's not the only thing these can do. See, the real reason these are so good is the fact that they act like shells when not attached to Mario. This means they can be bounced by springs to activate blocks, or heck even be fired out of Bill Blasters, which will automatically put them into their moving state. The Drybone Shell is also able to float on liquids unlike the others and will break upon hitting a surface, making them really useful one-time shells. All three of these items are so incredibly important to the game as pretty much any level using complex machines need them to work. Them being power-ups is honestly just a bonus to this main use. So I think for me, it's pretty safe to say that these three items are without a doubt the best Mario Maker original items, as they're easily the ones that open up for the most creative level types. But anyways, that's it for this video. Are you all crying because I dared to say the red POW box is better than the coin box? Let me know in the comments. Once again, this is another short video as I work on the big All Moons in Mario Odyssey ranking, which is coming along nicely so far. I've actually been able to finish the script. It's looking to be about 2.5 hours long. All I need to do now is get the footage and edit the whole thing. I'm hoping to be able to release it sometime in June. As the project gets further into the editing stage, I may not be able to keep up these weekly uploads that I have been, but I'll try my best. But anyways, Drybones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.